Hello and welcome to another episode of Code to Cloud with me, Kevin Evans. So I was on LinkedIn the other day. I say the other day, it's daily. My buddy from way back when, back in the UK, Richard Hooper, aka Pixel Robots. I was like, I need to hit him up, man, and get him on the show. So I dropped him a DM. Thankfully, he remembered who I was, and he candidly accepted, and we've got him on the show today. Richard, how's it going, man?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it was a nice message to get in the DMs. It's been a long time since we've actually been on a video stream together, or even on a call together, chatting technology and that. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I love to sort of like reach back to my British counterparts, right, wherever I can, because I'm touring North America, as you could probably imagine, but like it's good to have some of the folks on from back home, right? So yeah, what have you been doing with yourself lately? What's been going on?
Yeah, so since we last spoke, I got promoted to a principal architect at the company I work at, Intercept, which is like a Dutch company, but I'm in the UK, obviously, from the accent. I'm definitely not Dutch. So I work with them, and we're just basically doing lots of Kubernetes. Literally, my day now is Kubernetes, Cloud Native. We got them to become a CNCF Silver partner. I've been going to KubeCons, been working with Microsoft to try and improve their customer outreach, their community outreach. Yeah, basically living, sleeping, dreaming, sometimes eating Kubernetes. It's pretty much my life.
That's wild, man. I remember the last time we spoke, and even when I was starting off with Kubernetes and K8s, I just found it so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
That was the number one thing, right? Like, what does good look like? And every time I'd ask somebody a opinion, I'd get a different answer on what good looks like, right? It reminded me of like asking somebody what their favorite Linux distribution was, right? That's a rabbit hole, right? And that was the same with K8s. Like even building home labs, like Docker, right? Okay, how does that work? Right. Okay. So that helps you develop locally. Okay. What happens if you want to go up a notch, right? Oh, there's kind and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, right, okay. But then that's not really persistent. So then there's like, I know in my own personal journey, it was like K3s, I had a look at that, and then micro K8s, which gets a lot of heat. When I bring that up, it gets a lot of heat, but actually it's probably one of the closest distributions to native Kubernetes, right? So, I mean, if you just want something that works out the box locally, go and hit that up.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people like to buy the Raspberry Pi configuration, right, and do Kubernetes the hard way. Yeah.
Covered, yeah.
Literally everyone's tried to do that journey, but personally, I haven't got time for that. So I
spent all that money and spent a week on it, and it's just sat there collecting dust ever since. So yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it.
It's normally a good social media picture, like when people build those little clusters. But after that, it's like, well, what are you using it for, right? So if we think about the journey a little bit, and local development, create a Docker image, blah 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 blah, then you're going to stick it in the cloud, right? And it's going to be in one of your favorite hyperscalers, right? And obviously our favorite is AKS. But
yes, definitely.
Yeah, definitely, right? So, but yeah, so I was intrigued because I saw a post a couple of weeks back. KubeBuddy. Yep. Tell me about it. Is it going to help people like me out who are trying to get going?
Hopefully. So yeah, KubeBuddy, which is part of another set of tools I got called. So I got a set of tools called KubeDeck. Just because Kubernetes deck, because like a deck of cards, a selection of apps, but also a deck of a ship. So it's just a little play on words. Inside there, I've got KubeTidy, which helps keep your kube config file clean. So basically, it will remove clusters you haven't got access to anymore, or broken ones and stuff like that, all automatically for you. Takes a backup of it and everything. So I use that quite a lot because I'm forever spinning up clusters, and I used to always spend ages cleaning it up. So I thought, I'm going to script it. So I scripted it, started building that. KubeBuddy came out with that, and that's up there now. It's in the PowerShell gallery, and also like a crew plugin which you can download and do kubectl, KubeTidy, and then it would just tidy up your config for you. Then I created another tool called KubeSnapIt, which kind of does like a snapshot of your Kubernetes clusters or configuration of your apps, kind of like a backup. It just does like snapshot of your YAML basically. It also does Helm chart backups and stuff like that. So if you're going to be very naughty and not use GitOps and going to go do some kubectl work to make a change to test it, but you're making a few changes or you're using a bit of AI like Copilot or something to make these changes, this tool's perfect for you to create a snapshot before you make the change, so you can roll back in case something totally goes wrong and you delete all your deployment history or something like that. So it gives you that nice thing. And then I created a UI using PowerShell for those two apps. We don't talk about that one much anymore. And then I come up with this amazing idea of like, I work with Kubernetes every day. And like Kevin said, what does good look like? And there's all these tools out there, but they're all like built with Go or Python. And the average Windows engineer or enterprise engineer who's now getting chucked Kubernetes from their developers doesn't know much about Go or how to run Go. They may be not allowed to even install Go on their machine because it's locked down. Same with Python, you got your virtual environments, this, that, what version of Python do I need to run? And, not everyone can do that. So I create KubeBuddy, which is basically a PowerShell tool. It's up in the PowerShell gallery as well, but also has a Docker container. So it runs anywhere, Mac, ARM, AMD, Linux, anywhere you want to run it in, it will run. But what KubeBuddy does is it will sort of health check, audit your Kubernetes cluster. I think I've got about 92 checks if you include the AKS best practices in there as well. I will be putting AWS and GKE, but I need to do a lot of research into their best practices because I don't use them as much as AKS. And yeah, it will scan all of your workloads, all of your cluster, and basically give you a health score of your whole cluster. You can give it a HTML report, JSON report, text file for if you're doing it in a GitHub Action or Azure DevOps pipeline, or even an interactive CLI so you can run each check individually. And literally within a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes, you have this nice HTML page which gives you a nice snapshot of your cluster at that current state to say what conditions are in, if there's any warning events you need to look at, if there's any misconfiguration, so you've got pods running without your liveness or your readiness probe, or you haven't got your limits set or your limit ranges set on your resource groups. It's all in there. I've used as much checks as I can from what I've done. I've worked with Kubernetes. How long have I worked with Kubernetes now? A long time. Since it wasn't even AKS when I worked with it. It was Azure Container Services back in the days.
Yeah.
So a long time ago. So I've worked with lots of customers because I work for a managed service provider and we work with just software companies. And yeah, I'm dealing with AKS every day. I'm finding what works for everyone, what's the best practice. So now I'm taking my best practices, the best practices that I'm finding online from other people, and putting them all into this one tool. And then, within a few minutes, you've got this nice report, actionable report with recommendations, links to the documentations on what you can do to fix your cluster to get that score up, which is really cool.
Kind of like that. If you've ever used the security center in Azure, I think it's called Defender for Cloud Portal now, right? Something like that. But it used to output a recommendation list, right? And it would weight them and tell you what you need to do, right? Which is great because you could have 100 things on there, and you're like, where do I start, right? So I kind of like that. So let's just boil it down. So this is built on PowerShell, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of hate from that, but I think it's the best solution for the problem I was trying to solve.
Okay. So, I mean, I grew up with PowerShell, so I understand that. I mean, so what have you done? You've containerized the tool, is that
Yep.
right? So you basically built an application container, right?
Yep.
That will run anywhere. Um, like how's that built out? Like, explain to folks how's that work? Because like don't get me wrong, I install PowerShell on all my systems. I've had it running on Ubuntu, Fedora, Red Hat, Mac
Yep.
OS, right? Your favorite Linux distro, whatever Unix distribution. Obviously in Windows, you know, and this is a funny story. I've always had more trouble getting PowerShell running in Windows than I have on a Unix/Linux operating system, and I don't
Hmm.
understand why, right? And it's always, you know, there seems to be two separate versions on a Windows OS. I don't know if they're trying to consolidate that, but
Yeah,
no,
hopefully they will. There's Windows PowerShell, and then there's PowerShell Core, which is the new
the new one,
7
right?
version.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
what I did in the app is said you only support version 7 upwards and enforce that, so it can't work in the Windows one, which will break everything, and you should never touch it with a 10-foot barge pole. Yeah.
It was always the running as context that always tripped me up,
Oh yeah.
right? I'm running it as admin and all that kind of stuff. So I love the fact that you've abstracted it away. So let's walk through the Docker image. So is this something I can run on my machine, or do I have to run it inside the cluster? How does it work?
Yeah, you can actually run it on your machine, so you don't have to have it in the cluster at all. One point, I will get it so it can be like deployed with a Helm chart. You can run it as a cron job inside your cluster and maybe upload it to storage account or something like that, or maybe just attach a persistent volume so it just writes a daily, weekly report to somewhere where you can go and get it. But for now, it's just, yeah, you can run it on your local machine, anywhere that's got access to your cluster. So even in Azure Container Instances, if you really wanted to, you can run it there. As long as it can talk to the cluster, then it's all fine. And then the Docker file is just quite. I'm just opening it up now, in fact, so I can refresh my memory. Where's the Docker file? That one there. Yeah, so it's basically using a multi-part Docker file. So it does the build stage and then the run stage. So I'm using the Debian-based PowerShell 7.5 image, so the newest one available. And that's like my builder image. Then I install curl, because you need curl to go and download some tools and some other bits and pieces like unzip. Then I download kubectl, kube login, because with Azure you need kube login, and this tool will work with other clusters, not just AKS. Unzips that, installs all of that stuff. Then it installs my tool from the Git repository, like copies the files over into place it needs, sets all the permissions up. And then it installs another PowerShell module called PowerShell YAML, because all of my checks are written in YAML. So anyone can go and add a check-in as long as you can write YAML. There's conditional checks which aren't even used in PowerShell. So it's like, does this exist in my pod spec? Yes or no, and then it will report on that. So I use that for like the latest image tag. So if the image tag has got latest, then you're going to fail the check. Sets all the permissions up and then copies those into the main running image. And yeah, it's just works after that. Set all the Kube user up so it's not even running as root. It's all super secure. In the GitHub action, I also run Trivy to do security scanning on the pipeline. If it's got a critical, it will fail it and I won't even release it. But so far, it's been working quite well, and I haven't had any major issues with the scanning, which is nice. No critical vulnerabilities found.
Yeah, because there's always going to be that researcher out there, right, that's going to catch it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to be able to catch everything, but at least you're doing
No.
all the best checks that you can do before releasing out into the wild, right? So,
yeah, because I was thought about doing, because these checks are like YAML based checks, I could easily integrate custom checks, which could be with PowerShell scripts inside the YAML checks. But then I thought, someone could go inside this PowerShell kubectl delete namespace kube system and break the whole cluster.
blow it away.
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out ways to stop that with the script checks, or maybe I'll just limit it to maybe Prometheus checks or these conditional checks and not allow custom script checks, because you could have a field day. Like you could spin up loads of pods inside it if you don't get your permissions right on the kubectl side or the Kubernetes side. You could have a field day, basically read all the secrets. Proper little pen testing tool in the end. It could be.
There you go. There's another surface for you to look at, right?
Yeah.
The security integrity of the cluster itself internally, right? A lot of folks don't look at that side of things because wherever it's hosted, they sort of try to wrap it with the hyperscalers controls and those bits and pieces. But actually, there's certain things that you can do inside the cluster, right, to tighten it up a little bit.
Oh yeah. Like a standard AKS cluster out of the box isn't secure. It's as secure as it can be, but then you need to go and put your network policies on. You need to go and put your requests and limits on your namespaces to control that. You need to enable the policies so you can only pull images from a trusted registry and stuff like that. There's still a lot of day two, or not even day two operations, day zero operations that need to happen once you've deployed your cluster, and this tool will help you with that.
You only know what you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're starting something new, then how are you even gonna try and understand what's going on, right? Like even getting your first app deployed inside a cluster can be like really overwhelming because, like you said, we've got these traditional engineers, these Wintel engineers, as I like to call them, and I was one of them back in the day.
Same.
And we're all developers now.
Yes,
right?
we really are.
We really are, right? And that itself takes time for reflection sometimes.
I was so adamant for ages. No, I'm a sysadmin guy. That's it. I'm systems, but no, I'm a developer. I really am. It took ages to settle it down. Push that horrible feeling in the tummy saying I'm a developer. But yeah, no, we all are.
It's so true. I bring it up at loads of, like, if I'm presenting or whatever, you should see the stunned looks I get from the audience. And I'm like, I've walked your path, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that sounds great. So is this like closed source, open source? What's going on with it?
It's totally open source, MIT license, so anyone can steal the code and do whatever they want with it. I'm currently in the process of donating it trying to donate it to the CNCF. So I've put it up for sandbox review, which I think happens 13th of May, which is a few days from now, 6 days or so from now. So people can actually find out when we're recording this. But yeah, we'll see what they say, because if they accept it, it's going to probably be the first ever PowerShell tool in the CNCF.
That'll be front page news, right? Literally.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to think about. Yeah. So how do you even submit something to the CNCF? Like what's the process? I'm sure you had to go through checks and balances, right? And prepare a case and all that kind of stuff.
So far, it's not too bad. It's a lot easier than I thought. So I'm lazy because I'm a sysadmin at heart.
Obviously.
So yeah, I went to AI and said, Mr. AI, ChatGPT, how do I donate something to the CNCF? And then it told me all of this information. It scraped all of the websites. At the end of the day, all I had to do for the sandbox one is fill in a GitHub issue, put some business cases in, fill in some boxes, say why you think it's a good fit, blah, 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 link to all the repositories you have, and then they go and review it. So it's actually really easy to get into the sandbox, but it's up to the committee if it does get in or not. So as long as you filled in the forms correctly and they think your app's good enough for the CNCF, then it's easy. Now, the other stages are a lot harder because you have reviews and customer testimonials and stuff like that.
This is like an adoption process, right? And we've seen this over the past couple of years with have you heard of Radius?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the guys there are trying to get that through similar steps at the moment.
Yeah.
And then there was dare we speak its name, but the Open Tofu, right, is It's just gone into the
Yes.
CNCF because it was in
Yeah, it
the
was
Linux
Linux.
Foundation, right?
Yeah. I thought it's very strange that it's gone into the CNCF or even into the Linux Foundation because, it's a cloud infrastructure as code tool rather than a cloud native tool. You can do VMs with it. You can do
Bit of
SQL
everything.
Server. Yeah, a bit
Yeah.
of everything. Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't think it's a good fit, but I see why they're trying and why they've done it because of HashiCorp and IBM.
Another way to look at it is standardizing on a open source tool as well. And if I think of like Radius, that uses infrastructure as a code manifest files to deploy workloads inside your cluster, right? So
Yep.
maybe there's some sort of dream around that, right? And how that would work in the future.
That's an interesting one because Google, Amazon, and Microsoft all worked together on this new project recently called Crow, KRO,
right?
which is very much like a Terraform kind of thing, except you're not writing Terraform code, you're writing Kubernetes manifest, but it will deploy all of your apps and all of your cloud infrastructure as well, all through this platform. So it's kind of, in a way, a platform engineer's dream because you can just do everything through this app and it will work with Amazon, Google, Microsoft. So I'm keeping an eye on that and seeing how that's developing because it's a bit like Crossplane as well.
I was just about to say Crossplane,
yeah,
right? Like it sounds similar to that, right?
Yeah. So it's like, which one do we go with? This one's got the back end of the 3 big cloud suppliers. So, to me, that's making it more appealing because you would assume, and you should never assume, but you should assume in this case that it's going to have the latest and greatest support because they are so invested with it, hopefully.
So this is news to me. So what's it called? Crow? Like
yeah,
the bird?
KRO. It's spelled differently, but they call it Crow. And I think it's donated to the CNCF as well.
Straight away.
Or gonna be, yeah.
And is Crossplane, from memory, is that part of the CNCF? Just trying to.
Yeah, I think it is actually.
It is. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens between those two. Are they going to go to a KubeCon and we're going to have like a celebrity death match of Crow versus Crossplane? I don't know. But yeah, it's they call it Kubernetes Resource Orchestration is what Crow stands for.
Okay, KRO, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, because like I know Bicep, they started to wrap Bicep around YAML, right? So you could deploy inside the cluster, and I know people have done it with Terraform as well.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I always thought that was making your life that little bit harder. That was my opinion, right? Like, but,
you want to keep that infrastructure away from your apps. Don't bundle it all together because then you're redeploying everything just to update your app, and it's like it's a bit scary.
Especially when you're trying to fail over to a secondary cold region. you just want to get that up and running. But yeah, interesting. So KubeBuddy, where can folks find it? Is it on GitHub? Is it on the CNCF website yet? Well, like, how does it work?
It's definitely on GitHub. So you could do, well, if you just go to KubeBuddy.io, it comes up with a documentation page, links to the GitHub there, and stuff like that. You can also go to KubeDeck.io, and that would show you a link to all of the tools that are under the brand. I've just updated the documentation page for KubeBuddy, so it's got a nice material design theme using MK docs, whereas the other two apps are still using read the docs or just the docs theme from Jekyll. So I'm gonna update those as well.
Right.
So it's all kept on brand. And if anyone does see me, I've got little sticker packs as well. So always happy to hand those out as well.
That's amazing. Do you know what? So believe it or not, Code to Cloud has an engineering team now.
Oh, wow.
Literally, it's been a journey, but like it's pretty wild what's happening. So we we were talking about platform engineering a lot last year, and again, there was 1,000 opinions, right? And then it was like, what do I need to do my job? Is a phrase that I use a lot, right? Like, it's always, when people speak about things, it's normally vast and wide, and there's only probably 5 bullet points you really need out of that, right, to take away.
Yeah.
So we put together a platform engineering hub, which is on GitHub, and it's effectively open source, like collaboration. Anyone can chip in, but we've got a team that's been just adding things to it, right? So, just done stuff like Dagger and like even simple stuff like how to set up your local dev environment, which is taken for granted, right? Because a lot of people, like, I don't know about you, but I remember working for a partner in the UK, and there was this guy, and his name was Daniel Mabbott. I may have got his name wrong. Anyway, I remember him sharing his screen once, and he was using WSL and all these fancy extensions. I'm like, I don't even know where to start with this, right? Like that looks cool and amazing, right? It adds 20 points to your boss. If your boss walks past your desk and you're doing all this stuff, right? It adds 20 points. So I was like, out to the team, I was like, we even need to start there, right? But like, people are going to be using Windows, people are going to be using Linux or Mac, right? How does that work? And then there's some folks that use terminal first IDEs, right? Which are like for the hardcore, right? Like NeoVim and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm always like, you need to start basic and then build up. And like, to your point with the KubeBuddy thing, it was like opinionated, this will get you going. But like, what we say to everybody is like, instead of like rage commenting, like, fork the repo, do a pull request, right?
Exactly.
Get involved, right? Like, if there's something we've missed, it's a collaboration. So we'll totally add the KubeBuddy stuff to the repo and signpost to that, because like I'm big on that, because we're going to be doing like best practices around clusters and that kind of thing. So, but we literally just finished a module on code spaces and how to run them locally, as well as in GitHub code spaces as well. So we're trying to keep it quite, if I got a $5 budget or if I got $1 million budget, right? Like, depending on where you work, that kind of thing. So we'll totally put the KubeBuddy stuff in there and signpost it. Totally.
Very cool. Thank you.
No worries. But yeah, so we have a quick fire round at the end, which is humorous. But before we get to that, I want to ask you, I always ask everybody that comes on the show, what are the top 3 skills that you would recommend for people listening that you would say, I know you're very Kubernetes focused, so we'll probably keep it to that, right? But if there's anything else that you've learned inside your job and your career, what should people focus on in 2025?
So what I'm seeing a lot, because we've been trying to hire people for a long time, and I'm finding a lot of people are missing some of the basics. And when I'm talking basics, I mean basic like networking. So they don't know how to troubleshoot a DNS thing. They don't know how DHCP works and stuff like that. So basic networking is definitely a skill to understand. Maybe study for the CompTIA Network Plus.
I did that back in the day, man.
Yeah. I'm saying it's helped a lot. With Kubernetes, I'm using networking every day. We've got services, we've got load balancers, we've got network policies which are stopping traffic, and you got to figure it all out. Network Plus would definitely help so much with that. And I wish more people would go back and, instead of just learning the cloud straight away, would actually go off and learn how networking really works before the cloud.
Mate, you're literally preaching to the choir. We have this conversation all the time, right? Like, do you remember when you used to have a CCNA and you were like the rock star in the office, right? So I even have colleagues at work early in careers, and they look at networking like, I'm keeping away from that. That looks too hard, right? And I'm like, and then I get asked, and I'm like, I'm not the guy you should be.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because like, and it's not pushing down my ability, but literally when I was coming up through the ranks, there was these people on your team that were like basically speaking binary and knew where all the packets were going, right? And that to me is hardcore like networking folks, right? And I feel like it's a bit of a dying art, right? Like I'm trying to get it back in fashion, but like it's really hard to try and convince somebody that
yeah.
it's a skill to have, right?
You say BGP to people and they're like, what's that?
I know, right? And I'm like, I'm explaining BGP, right? And, and all that good stuff. But it's we all had the Catalyst switches at home, just trying to build
nice
VLANs.
Mini rack of them.
Literally, before we had Kubernetes clusters, right? You used to have like a Windows domain controller and some Catalyst switches, right? So, but yeah, I do find that's people. Something happened where there was a shift towards being more a developer and a programmer, which we talked earlier on in the show, but like you can programmatically configure networks now, especially with software-defined networking as well. Like I feel like it's more complicated than ever because here's a great example. So like this year I've been talking about Azure Local a lot with our customers, and it's like software-defined networking through the Azure control plane. But then, okay, what about the local switch, right? And the routing there, and how does that work? And it was like, I was like reflecting on it, going, yeah, we're gonna have to speak about VLANs again, and local route tables, and breakout points via firewalls, spanning tree protocol, right? All of that good stuff, right? You know, not exhausting the port configuration, right, on the switch. And it was just
trunking the ports to give you a better bandwidth and all that fun stuff back in the day.
So, to Richard's point, if you've just listened to this, you're even getting nostalgia vibes, right? Or you're going, what are these guys on about, right? And if that's the case, I think his name was Mike. Was it Michael? Not Michael Myers, not the guy from Halloween. Mike Myers was like the dude back in the day, CompTIA Plus. So like A Plus, Network Plus. I don't know if he's still teaching it, but
his books were so good.
He's probably why we're here, right? To be quite honest, right? And he wore a cowboy hat and everything. He was cool. He was amazing. So if in doubt, go to your favorite AI tool and just say, give me the basics on networking.
Teach me networking. And that actually comes quite nicely onto my next skill. Prompt engineering. AI is such a powerful tool, but you need to get the prompts right. Without the correct prompts, you're going to get rubbish. So yeah, prompt engineering is the next skill. Like I've managed to use AI in the past to write me a blog post about a technology that had only just been released 5 minutes beforehand. Because of prompt engineering, feeding it the correct information, you can actually get good stuff out of it. Whereas if I just said, write me a blog post about this topic, then it would have said, made it up probably, or just totally incorrect information. And that blog post is actually now one of my most top read blog posts, because it was about the new EKS automatic compared with AKS automatic.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the EKS one is basically what AKS with node auto provisioning is. So Carpenter, they've just managed to look after all of that. Nothing special at all.
Yeah, my top tips with prompt, like I look at prompt engineering is when I cracked how to Google stuff, right?
Yeah,
like you know, when you effectively write a term and Google and you used to nail it, because you've been don't know about you, Richard, but I was doing it when I was 12, right? So I'm dating myself a lot here, right? But one of my best hacks for prompt engineering is to keep something accurate and real. Think about when you were at college or university and they would ask for the references. So say like, for instance, explain to me how this works and only reference Microsoft Learn. Right? And then tell me where you gathered this information from so I can review it.
Yeah. But actually review it, because
review it. Yeah.
It sometimes creates links to non-existent documents.
It looks so legit as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
found that
yeah,
out whilst building KubeBuddy because I have some docs links to the Microsoft Docs for the AKS checks. I was like, yeah, that looks legit. Nope, click it. This is not a real link at all.
like I don't see using AI as a negative thing. Like for me, it's accelerated things massively, right?
God, yeah.
Because I believe it or not, I'm not going to be the next Charles Dickens. I know it's a shock for most people out there, but it it really helps. But yeah, validate your sources. Trusted but verified, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your third point?
Ooh, now my third one is so the skill that I see missing the most is basic troubleshooting. Most people always, yeah. So most people, you'll get. Remember back in the day, you get a phone call on the help desk. My computer's not working. The first thing you check is it plugged in? Is it switched on? Nowadays, everyone misses those simple, basic troubleshooting steps and goes straight to, oh, it must be a cloud problem or it's a really complex problem that's going to take days. And all it probably needs is a switch on and off, or have you got the right IP configured? Is the NSG correct? Can it ping to Google? And these kind of things we just don't do anymore. Everyone has forgotten how to do basic troubleshooting since the cloud came around. Even in Kubernetes, I'm seeing it. Everyone would just go, oh, my pod's not starting. It must be something wrong in my manifest file or something. But you just check the logs. It usually tells you, oh, I can't reach this database server, or my liveness probes failed because I can't access this message bus queue. And you go, oh, okay, so that's probably networking. Then I'll just go check that. Or I'll check the parameters got the right name and the right password somewhere, wherever that is. But nope, it's like, right, let's go quick, check the manifest is correct, check this, check that. Not even read the logs. People forget to read the logs now.
So true, right? And if anybody's listened to this, here's a mini competition. If you can post the Google DNS IP address in the comments, right? Me and Richard will give you a big shout out, right?
Yeah.
Back to Richard's point before, teach me networking. I know where he's definitely going with this, but it's always DNS.
Yeah. It's always DNS.
or it's a line of sight issue most of the time, right? So, to Richard's point, you could be exhausting the cluster. There could be no limits on there, and you've got 60,000 containers running on there, but you've only got enough horsepower for 2, right? Kind of thing. So check the logs. It is laborious. It is boring, but guess what? It's better than having a stab in the dark all the time, right? Like,
oh yes,
you will learn like a sixth sense. Like, I don't know about you, but back in the day, Richard, like I could tell, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
You would walk into a room and they'll say, "Oh yeah, the problem's blah blah. It's all going wrong." And you go, "Yeah, let's just check this file. Oh yeah, you've got the wrong slash in there or something like that." Because you've been there, you've seen it. You just that sixth sense just happens. Or sometimes you just walk in the room and it'll fix it. That was the best feeling.
I know, right? And just be like the tech whisperer, right?
Yeah.
What did you do? I restarted the printer. My work is done. I am now going to leave, right?
Yeah.
Invent myself a cup of tea.
One skill you should never learn is printers. Just hate printers so much.
And you know what? I think everybody of our generation, like when you first join a like help desk team or an IT team, there's always some senior dude in there, and he makes it out like you're the printer guy, and you're gonna be like so well respected for it. But actually, it's not his problem anymore, right?
No.
So
yeah.
Luckily,
done that.
I've done that as well. And like someone's always staring at you when you're trying to fix it as well, right? Like,
hurry up, fix it.
Yeah, I need it. Can't you email it? No, it needs to be printed out, right? But yeah, no, those are. I would concur with most of those. They're pretty good. So I like to finish on a quick fire round.
Cool.
So, favorite games console? That's my first question.
That is probably going to be the Nintendo Entertainment System, so the NES.
The grey one from back in the day.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt. That one?
Yeah. Duck Hunt, yeah.
Right. With
So many
the same
nostalgic
age.
memories playing that. Like back in them days, I had a black and white TV up in my bedroom.
That's right, a little
And
portable.
my mum
right?
and that were playing it downstairs, but because there's no electric shielding, I could pick up the signal in my old TV from the TV downstairs of it playing, and like all wirelessly, I could watch them playing. It was amazing. Just because standard back then was just like there wasn't any. It was so cool.
Do you know what? I think that was my first games console, and it was the red light gun, like red and
Yes.
yeah. And I remember playing Duck Hunt, and that was wild, right? I enjoyed it. I mean, I went full PlayStation after the Mega Drive. Don't know if you've had a Mega Drive.
Yeah, I had Mega Drive, Sega Saturn.
Saturn.
Yeah. Mate, I used to have them all.
Oh my god, the Saturn! I had a Dreamcast.
I had the Dreamcast 2, all of the Nintendos, PlayStation 1, and the PS1, because that was the smaller one compared to the bigger one. PlayStation 2, 3, and then after 3, I never got 4 or 5. I went Xbox route.
Interesting. I was saying to someone, you can now get Xbox games on a PlayStation. Which is
No. I'm waiting for Halo to come, and then maybe I'll switch.
That is that'll be a history moment right there, right? But
yeah, big time.
Okay, so what's your favorite operating system of all time?
Ooh, probably Windows 3.11 for work groups.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm really shocked.
That or Microsoft Bob.
Bob?
I really Bob was so much fun. It was like a layer on top of an operating system, so not really an operating system. But it was just so much fun. You used to be able to click things in your house because it was like a picture of a house, and then you could click on the clock, and then the clock comes up. Click on the calendar, and then the calendar comes up, and stuff like that.
See, I thought you were going to say Windows 95, man.
95 was good. 95 with USB support was even better. I used to have those.
Wasn't that Windows 95B? I think that's what they called it.
Yeah.
Like a plug and play, right? Or
yeah.
Like that, yeah.
Oh, good times.
Yeah. I know, right?
Yeah. But the 3.11 for work groups is when I first started getting into computers, I used to get all these components from like my stepdad worked at a hospital, and they used to throw out all their old IT equipment. So then he would take me up there, pull all these chips out, the cards out, graphics cards, boxes, and just put it all together. And the operating system they were running was 3.11 for work groups, and that's the first one I sort of got my teeth into of a Windows one, apart from MS-DOS. It's all about memories for me.
Origin story right there. Like, I had a similar pulling pieces together from scrap, basically, to make one super version of that line of computer system, right? And just I remember blowing away my first F disk.
Oh, mate, the amount of bits I broke, like, because there was no internet back then, so
that's right.
The graphics card had dip switches as well, so you had to like try and configure it right and hope you don't blow something up. And it was crazy, but it was a lot of fun.
But yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. It was great to catch you up as always.
Yeah.
I will obviously. We'll add you to the Platform Engineering Hub, but we'll also show post and signpost, the links to KubeBuddy in the show notes below.
Awesome.
But where is the best place for people to find you? Is it LinkedIn still?
LinkedIn, even X. The main social medias I'm on there. What's the one above? Blue Sky, I'm even on there now. But mostly active on LinkedIn. So yeah, just search for Richard Hooper or Pixel Robots. You'll find me on the internet.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Richard, for coming on. Again, you can catch this episode on all your favorite podcast apps, and it'll also be on YouTube. So until the next one, goodbye for now.
Bye.